Have you ever wondered why he keeps coming back to you, even when he's utterly infatuated with another woman? Why, in the dead of night, when he should be dreaming of her, it's your name that spills from his lips? Why he seeks you out, calls you, confesses things to you that he's never told her, and yet he can't fully choose you. Let me tell you something that will shatter everything you believe about men, choices, and what truly makes a man choose you when his heart seems to belong to someone else. Most women think that when a man is attached to another, they need to become more beautiful, more interesting, more understanding, more patient, more perfect. They believe they need to compete, prove their worth, show they're the right choice. And you know what happens? They lose. They always lose. But not because they aren't enough. They lose because they're playing a game they could never win. Because here's the brutal truth nobody tells you. You were never competing with her. Never. You're competing with something far more powerful. Something invisible. Something that resides within his mind and holds more sway over his choices than any flesh and blood woman ever could. And until you understand what that is, you'll remain trapped in the same cycle. Waiting, wishing, wondering why you aren't enough. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists who ever lived, the man who unlocked the deepest mysteries of the male psyche, discovered something revolutionary nearly a century ago. Something most women still don't know. Something that, once you grasp it, completely changes the game. Jung spent decades studying why men make the choices they do, why they cling to women who destroy them, why they sabotage perfect relationships, why they choose suffering over happiness. And what he discovered flies in the face of everything you've been taught about love, attraction, and relationships. Listen to this carefully. When a man is attached to another woman but keeps returning to you, he's not confused. He's not being selfish. He's not trying to decide between the two of you. What's actually happening is far deeper and far more powerful. He's at war, a psychological war between two forces within him. And the woman he ultimately chooses isn't the most beautiful. She isn't the most perfect. It's not even the one he loves the most. It's the woman who represents the victory of one of these forces over the other. And here's the problem with everything you've tried so far. Did you try to be more available? That only fed the wrong force within him. Did you try to pull away so he would miss you? That only made you seem more like a strategy, not a solution. Did you try to be the nice woman who accepts everything? That only proved you don't understand what he truly needs. Did you try giving ultimatums? That only activated his defense mechanisms and pushed him further away. All these methods, everything your friends told you, everything you read in magazines, everything you tried to do to win him over, are doomed to failure because they don't account for the true battle raging in his mind. The battle Jung called the war between the ego and the self. Between fantasy and reality, between who he pretends to be and who he truly is. And you know what the cruelest part of all this is? The other woman, the one he can't forget, the one who occupies his mind, the one you think is your rival. She isn't real, not in the way you think. She's a projection, a blank screen onto which he projects everything he doesn't have the courage to face within himself. She represents the part of him he doesn't want to touch, the wound he doesn't want to heal, the fear he doesn't want to name. And as long as he's attached to this projection, he'll never truly choose you. Not because you're not good enough, but because with you, he would have to wake up. But here's the good news. The news that will change everything. There is a way to make him wake up. There is a way to become not the woman he desires in his fantasy, but the woman he needs in his reality. And when you become that woman, something extraordinary happens. He doesn't choose you because you won a competition. He chooses you because with you, he finally gets to choose himself. He gets to be real, vulnerable, whole. And a man who finds that in a woman never lets her go. What I'm about to show you now isn't manipulation. It's not mind games. It's not strategy. It's deep psychology. It's the map of the male psyche that Jung drew and that most people will never know. It's knowledge about the anima archetype, the image of the feminine that lives in every man's unconscious and controls all his relationship choices. Once you understand his anima, you no longer need to compete. You no longer need to prove anything. You become the one woman he sees clearly, while all others are merely blurred phantoms on the periphery of his consciousness. But I must caution you about one thing. What I'm about to teach you will require courage. Because you will have to do something that goes against your every instinct. You will have to stop trying to be chosen and start choosing. You will have to look at this man you so desperately desire, this man who makes you feel you are not enough, and ask a question most women are terrified to ask. Is he enough for me? Because here's the ultimate secret Jung uncovered. A man only truly chooses you when he realizes you might not choose him back. Not as a manipulation, but as genuine truth. As a woman who knows her own worth so profoundly that she doesn't settle for crumbs. Who doesn't settle for being a second option? Who doesn't settle for a man still caught up in fantasies? So I ask you now, are you ready to stop waiting to be chosen and start being the woman who chooses? Are you ready to understand the male psyche in a way 99% of women never will? Are you ready to discover why he comes back to you, what it really means, and how to use this knowledge not to trap him, but to liberate yourself? Because what I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes will challenge everything you think you know about man, about love, and about yourself. And once you know, you will never look at relationships the same way again. You will never again accept less than you deserve. And you will never again wonder why you're not enough, because you will finally understand. The question was never whether you are enough. The question was always, is he enough for you? So take a deep breath. Prepare your heart for some hard truths, and come with me as I show you exactly what Carl Jung discovered about the male psyche, and how you can use this ancient wisdom to never again be a hostage to any man's choices. Let's begin with the part no one tells you, what truly happens in his mind when he looks at you, and when he looks at her, and why the difference between those two things determines everything. Now, before we proceed, I need you to do something with me. Something that will seem simple, but holds a power you cannot yet fathom. I want you to go to the comments right now and type just one word, I choose. I know it might seem strange. It might seem like just a random word out of context. But let me explain what is truly happening when you do this. Carl Jung discovered something fascinating about the unconscious. He realized that when you declare something, when you externalize an intention through the written word, you are not merely communicating with the external world. You are sending a direct message to the deepest layers of your own mind. When you write the word I choose in the comments, you are activating a process Jung referred to as conscious individuation. You are telling your unconscious, I am no longer waiting to be chosen. I am the woman who chooses. And here's the powerful part. This simple act of writing this word creates an imprint on your psyche. It's like planting a seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness. And this seed will germinate as you absorb everything I'm about to teach you in the coming minutes. Think of it as a ritual, a commitment you are making to yourself. Because you see, you can watch this entire video. You can agree with everything I say. You can even perfectly grasp the Jungian concepts I will explain. But if you don't take this first step, if you don't declare your intention, the knowledge will merely skim the surface of your mind without taking root. Writing I choose is you saying, I am here. I am present. I am ready to stop playing the old game and start living a new reality. And there's one more thing. When you look at the comments and see hundreds, perhaps thousands of other women typing the same word, something magical happens. Jung called this the collective unconscious. You realize you are not alone on this journey, that there are women all over the world who are tired of waiting, tired of competing, tired of feeling insufficient. You are creating an invisible community, a sisterhood of women who have decided to awaken, who have decided to stop being chosen and start choosing. And when you connect with this collective energy, when you witness other women also engaging in this profound work of transformation, something within you strengthens. You are no longer alone in your doubt, your pain, your confusion about why he doesn't choose you. You are part of something larger, a silent movement of women reclaiming their power. So go now. Pause this video if you need to. Go to the comments and write, I choose. Write nothing else. Just that word. Because that word carries the full weight of the transformation you are about to experience. It carries the decision that you will no longer accept scraps. It carries the promise that you will understand his mind so profoundly that you will never again feel held hostage by his choices. And when you return to continue watching, you will realize that something has shifted. That you are watching not as a woman desperate for answers, but as a woman who has already made the most important decision, the decision to choose herself first. This is the first step in the individuation process that Jung taught. And few women in the world know this secret. But you know it now. So write I choose in the comments. and let that word be the portal to the transformation you have been seeking for so long. I will be waiting for you here, and when you return, we will delve deep into the mysteries of the masculine mind, and you will finally understand why he comes back to you, what that truly signifies, and how you can leverage this knowledge to never again doubt your own worth. Go ahead, write "I choose," and come back prepared to uncover truths that will alter your life forever. Now that you've planted this seed of transformation, let me show you what's truly transpiring in his mind when he looks at you versus when he looks at her, and why understanding this distinction will fundamentally alter how you navigate relationships moving forward. I'm about to share something that might sound peculiar at first, but bear with me. When a man professes to be attached to another woman, when he confesses he can't get her out of his head, when he admits he thinks about her constantly even while in your presence, he isn't speaking of a tangible person. He is speaking of a specter residing within him. Jung referred to this specter as the anima, and to grasp the anima is to comprehend, quite literally, everything behind the seemingly irrational choices men make in relationships. The anima is the archetypal image of the feminine that every man carries within his unconscious from birth. It's as if, within the psyche of every man, there exists an ideal woman, an invisible goddess, embodying everything he believes he requires to feel complete. Ethereal beauty, elusive mystery, unconditional acceptance, infinite admiration, all at once. And herein lies the predicament. This woman does not exist. She never has. She never will. But he remains oblivious to this fact. Thus, he dedicates his entire existence to seeking her out, projecting this internal ideal onto actual women. And when he encounters a woman who, for whatever reason, aligns perfectly with this projection, he becomes fixated. He isn't enamored with her. He is captivated by his own phantasm, by the promise that he has finally discovered the woman who will fill the void within him. And do you know the devastating truth? The less he truly knows this woman, the more flawless she appears. The further she is, the more she fits the projection. The more unattainable, the more she seems like the anima incarnate. This is precisely why he becomes fixated on women who reject him, on women who are complicated, on women who cause him anguish. Because the distance, the pain, the enigma, all of it fuels the fantasy. All of it perpetuates the projection. Now, you are likely contemplating, if she is his perfect fantasy, how could I possibly compete? And that is precisely the erroneous question. Because you cannot compete with a fantasy. You will never triumph by attempting to be more mysterious, more aloof, more out of reach than she is. Do you know why? Because you are real. Reality always capitulates to fantasy when a man is still asleep. But here's the game-changing secret. Every man, at some point in his life, needs to awaken. And when he does, the fantasy crumbles. The anima loses its dominion. He can finally see what has been right in front of him all along. And what causes a man to awaken? What dissolves the projection? It isn't you distancing yourself. It isn't you manufacturing drama. It isn't you attempting to prove your superiority. It's something entirely different. Something most women will never comprehend because it runs counter to all feminine instincts. But before I reveal what it is, you must grasp a crucial element of the male psyche. Something that explains why he returns to you, even when fixated on her. There exists another force within a man that Jung termed the self. The self is his totality. It is who he truly is when he ceases pretense, when he sheds all masks, when he is no longer striving to be the hero of his own narrative. The self is his truth. Raw, imperfect, vulnerable, human. And here's what transpires. When he is with her, the woman of fantasy, he is nourishing his ego. He feels special for having captivated her, even if only within his imagination. He feels powerful being in the proximity of this unattainable woman. His ego swells. He feels godlike. But when he is with you, something distinct occurs. With you, his ego cannot sustain its inflation. Why? Because you see him. You perceive through his facades. You acknowledge his vulnerabilities. You recognize his fears. And when he is near you, he cannot feign. And this is terrifying to him. Because the self demands authenticity. The self compels him to abandon the imaginary hero and embrace the real man. And the majority of men spend their entire lives evading this truth. They prefer to reside in a fantasy where they are perfect, powerful, admired, rather than confronting the reality where they are human, flawed, susceptible. This is why he returns to you but cannot remain. This is why he seeks you in the dead of night but vanishes with the dawn. This is why he confides in you things he would never utter to her. Because with you, he is genuine, yet he is not yet prepared for reality. He still yearns for the fantasy. And now comes the part that will shatter your perception. Most women, upon realizing this, upon comprehending that a man flees reality and pursues fantasy, what do? They endeavor to embody the fantasy as well. They reason, if he desires mystery, I shall be mysterious. If he craves distance, I shall withdraw. If he seeks someone unattainable, I shall become unattainable. And do you know what transpires? They completely forfeit the power they once possessed. Because the sole genuine power they wielded was precisely that of being the gateway to his self. It was about being the woman who made him feel secure enough to be authentic. And when they relinquish this to attempt to compete with the fantasy, they devolve into mere projections, blank canvases, women he cannot truly perceive. Consequently, he becomes ensnared between two fantasies, two projections, two women he does not genuinely know. And in this scenario, who does he select? No one. Or he gravitates towards the one that best caters to his ego at that precise moment. And this inclination can fluctuate daily. So, what is the solution? How does one extricate themselves from this intractable game? How does one compel him to choose them authentically? Herein lies the truth that no woman wishes to hear, yet all must. You cannot make him choose you. Not as long as he remains dormant. Not while he is still entangled in the conflict between an inflated ego and his true self. The only recourse available is to awaken him. And awakening a man has absolutely no bearing on being more alluring, more captivating, or more flawless. Awakening a man entails compelling him to confront his own shadow. The shadow, within the framework of Jungian psychology, encompasses all that a man is unwilling to acknowledge about himself. It comprises the fears he conceals, the insecurities he denies, the wounds he has never healed, the rage he has never expressed, the sorrow he has never wept. All of this resides within his shadow, and until he integrates this shadow, until he gazes upon it and declares, I see you, I accept you, you are an integral part of me, he will persist in projecting his anima onto unattainable women and evading genuine ones. And herein lies the secret that will revolutionize your approach. The woman he ultimately selects is not the one who shields him from his shadow. It is the woman who impels him to confront it, not with cruelty, not with aggression, but with an inescapable inevitability. How does one achieve this? How does one become the woman who mirrors his shadow without entirely repelling him? You undertake an action that runs counter to every piece of counsel you have ever received. Something that will strike you as utterly irrational. Something that will render you feeling vulnerable, exposed, and perhaps even terrified. You cease concealing your own shadow. Because here's what truly transpires when two individuals forge a connection at the self level. They don't connect through manufactured perfection. They connect through the fissures, through the imperfections, through those aspects each endeavors to conceal from the world. When you reveal to him that you too possess a shadow, that you harbor fears and insecurities and parts of yourself that fall short of flawless, something extraordinary unfolds within his psyche. He apprehends that it is safe to be imperfect in your presence, that it is safe to shed the mask, that it is safe to cease pretense. And when a man experiences this, when he realizes there exists a woman in the world with whom he can be utterly authentic without judgment, without abandonment, without diminishment, the anima's grip loosens. The illusion begins to disintegrate, and he can finally perceive you, not as a mere option, not as a secondary choice, but as the singular woman who truly matters. For you are the only authentic woman in a realm teeming with projections. However, there is a caveat, and this caveat is paramount. You can only achieve this, you can only mirror his shadow and compel his awakening if you yourself are awake. If you have personally undertaken the arduous work of confronting your own shadow, of integrating your own wounds, of relinquishing the pursuit of external validation to assuage internal voids. Because if you are still seeking from him the affirmation of your adequacy, if you are still attempting to validate your worth through his selection, then you too are dormant. You too are ensnared in projections. You are projecting onto him the archetype of the man who will rescue you, complete you, render you whole. And two unconscious beings projecting fantasies onto one another will never engender a genuine union. It will merely produce two egos engaged in a dance around phantasms. And inevitably, as the illusions dissipate, naught remains. Thus, here lies the foundational truth you must internalize. He will only truly choose you when you cease to require his choice. Not as a stratagem, not as a calculated maneuver, but as the unadorned reality of a woman who has already unequivocally chosen herself. And how does one accomplish this? How does one become that woman who needs no choosing because she has already chosen herself? This is where the journey deepens. This is where we must delve into the strata of your own unconscious. For before you can fully comprehend his mind, you must first comprehend your own. You must unearth the projections you are carrying. What fantasies are you nurturing? What voids are you attempting to fill through him? And when you do that work, when you truly look inward and integrate your own shadow, something magical happens. You stop attracting men trapped in fantasies. You stop accepting scraps. You stop competing with projections. Because you become so real, so integrated, so whole, that only equally real men can see you. And these men are not attached to others. They do not live in fantasy worlds. They recognize true value when they encounter it, and they never let it go. Now you might be asking yourself, how do I know if I'm projecting fantasies onto him? How do I know if what I feel is true love or just my own distorted anima, my own need disguised as desire? And that is the most important question you can ask. Because the truth is, most women live in fantasy too. Not in the same way men do, but equally potent, equally destructive. Jung discovered something fascinating about the female psyche. He realized that just as men carry the anima, the image of the ideal feminine within them, women carry the animus, the image of the ideal masculine within them. And the animus functions differently, but is equally dangerous when not integrated. The unintegrated animus makes you believe there is a man out there who will complete you, who will fill all the voids, who will make you feel safe, loved, valued, whole. And when you find a man who seems to fit that image, even just a little, you project all those expectations onto him. You turn him into the savior he never asked to be. And you know what's ironic? The more you project that fantasy onto him, the more he feels the weight of expectation. The more he feels he has to be perfect. The more he feels he cannot show weakness. And guess what that does? It activates the very dynamic that pushes him toward the fantasy of another woman. Because with her, the woman he doesn't have but desires, he doesn't have to be anything. He can project whatever he wants onto her without the weight of reality. But with you, who is right there present, waiting, wanting, needing him, he feels the pressure to measure up to the man you imagine him to be. And he knows he can't. He knows he will disappoint you. So he flees, not consciously. He doesn't wake up in the morning thinking, I'm going to disappoint this woman today. He flees unconsciously, because his unconscious knows he cannot carry the weight of your projections and his own simultaneously. This is what Jung called psychic contamination. When two people relate only through projections, through unintegrated archetypes, through unworked unconscious, they create a toxic energetic field. A place where no one can be real, where everyone is always performing, always trying to measure up to an image that doesn't exist. And in the end, everyone gets hurt. You feel rejected. He feels suffocated. And both believe the problem lies with the other, when in reality, the issue resides in the invisible layers neither can perceive. So, allow me to pose a few questions. And be brutally honest with yourself. When you contemplate him, when you envision being with him, what is it you truly desire? Do you wish to know him authentically, with all his flaws, all his limitations, all his imperfect humanity? Or do you crave the sensation he imparts? The validation? The affirmation that you are desirable, lovable, sufficient? When you experience that ache in your chest because he hasn't chosen you, what truly pains you? Is it the loss of him specifically, of the real person he is? Or is it the dissolution of the fantasy? The demise of the narrative you've constructed in your mind about how perfect it would be if he finally chose you? And when you imagine winning him over, when you fantasize about the moment he finally realizes you are the right choice, what do you see? Do you envision a genuine partnership, replete with challenges, growth, and continuous effort? Or do you see the happily ever after? The moment you can finally relax and be effortlessly adored. If you're being candid, you've likely discerned that at least a portion of what you feel for him is projection. At least a part is your unintegrated animus seeking external salvation. And this does not render you weak. It does not render you flawed. It renders you human. Everyone projects. Everyone carries unconscious fantasies. The divergence between individuals who forge authentic relationships and those ensnared in toxic cycles is in that one group projects and the other does not. The distinction lies in the fact that some individuals undertake the endeavor of recognizing their projections and dismantling them. Others do not. So, how does one dismantle projections? How do you cease perceiving him as the savior and begin to see him as the imperfect man he genuinely is? You commence by asking a different question. Instead of inquiring why he doesn't choose me, you ask, who is he truly? Not who I wish him to be. Not who he could be if he were to change. Not who he pretends to be in his finest moments. Who is he, in truth, right now, in the depths of his being? And here lies the unsettling part. When you pose this question with sincerity, when you genuinely observe who he is without the filters of your fantasies, you may uncover something disquieting. You might discover that he is not the man you presumed, that he is not operating at the same level of consciousness as you, that he is still asleep while you are attempting to awaken. And if that is the case, if he is indeed still ensnared in projections, evading his own self, incapable of confronting his own shadow, then you are faced with the most arduous decision of your life. You must decide whether to wait for him to awaken, knowing full well that he may never do so, or whether to move forward and find someone who is already awake. And here is the unvarnished truth that most women are loath to hear. You cannot awaken anyone. You cannot compel a man to undertake the inner work he must do. You can mirror him. You can cultivate a safe space. You can serve as the catalyst. But the choice to awaken is unequivocally his, always. And while you linger, waiting for him to choose awakening, while you remain available, hoping, wishing, you are squandering your most precious time. You are dissipating the energy you could be channeling toward your own individuation, toward your own journey, toward becoming the most whole, integrated, potent woman you are capable of being. Jung articulated a profound insight on this very matter. He posited that the aim of life is not happiness. The aim of life is wholeness. And you do not attain wholeness by waiting for a man to choose you. You achieve wholeness by engaging in the profound work of integration, irrespective of who stands beside you or who does not. But herein lies the exquisite paradox. When you genuinely undertake this work, when you truly achieve wholeness, you cease to attract sleeping men. You cease to tolerate men who are incapable of seeing you, because your energy undergoes a complete metamorphosis. A woman who has completed the work of integration emanates something that most people cannot even articulate. She radiates presence, substance, authenticity. She is not attempting to be anything other than what she is. She neither conceals her shadow nor inflates her light. She simply exists. And this authenticity possesses a magnetic quality that no performance can replicate. And do you know who is drawn to this energy? Men who have also done the work. Men who are also awake. Men who have no need for pretense because reality itself is sufficiently rich. Men who do not flee from their shadow because they have already integrated it. These men do not cling to others. They do not exist in a state of division, caught between projections. When they behold you, when they recognize the wholeness within you, they do not falter. They do not retreat. They do not manufacture drama. They simply choose. And when a man like that chooses, he chooses completely. But what if the man you want now isn't that man? What if he's still asleep? What if he's still caught between you and his fantasy? Then you have a decision to make. And that decision reveals everything about where you are on your own individuation journey. You can keep waiting. You can keep being patient. You can keep believing that eventually he'll wake up and see what's been in front of him all along. And maybe he will wake up. Maybe. But as you wait, you're telling your subconscious, I am not enough on my own. I need him to feel complete. I am willing to put myself second while he figures out who he is. Or you can do something radically different, something that goes against every attachment instinct you have, something that will feel impossible at first, but is the only true path to freedom. You can walk away, not with anger, not with drama, not with manipulative ultimatums, but with clarity, with the profound understanding that you deserve someone who is already awake, Someone who doesn't need time to decide if you are valuable. Someone who sees you clearly from the very first moment and never questions the choice. And here's what happens when you do this. When you truly walk away with integrity, one of two things. Either he wakes up immediately because the real loss finally shatters the fantasy, or he doesn't wake up and you discover he was never the right man for you. And in either case, you win. If he wakes up and comes after you transformed, ready to be real, then you have the chance to build something genuine. If he doesn't wake up, you free yourself from a cycle that was draining you and make space for someone who is on the same level of consciousness as you. But there's a secret here I need to tell you. A secret that completely shifts the dynamic of this entire game. You can only truly walk away. You can only make this move with integrity if you genuinely no longer care about the outcome. If you've truly reached a point where your wholeness doesn't depend on his choice. And how do you get to that point? How do you become so integrated, so whole, that you genuinely no longer need him to choose you? You arrive at this point by doing something most women avoid their entire lives. Something that hurts. Something that demands brutal courage. You look directly into the void you are trying to fill with him. Because every time you feel that searing pain of not being chosen, every time you check your phone awaiting a message from him, every time you envision finally capturing his complete attention, you are not missing him. You are missing something far more ancient, far more profound. Jung called it the primordial wound. It's the first time you felt you weren't enough. Perhaps it was when your father didn't see you, when your mother compared you to another child, when you realized you had to perform to receive love, when you learned love was conditional, that you had to be something specific to earn it. This wound never truly healed. It remained there, throbbing in the unconscious, waiting. And every time you engage with a man who doesn't wholly choose you, you aren't creating a new wound. You are merely touching the old one, reigniting the original ache. And here is the truth that will either set you free or destroy you, depending on what you do with it. He was never capable of healing this wound. No man is. Because the wound wasn't caused by him. It was caused long before he entered your life. And the only person who can heal it is you. But the human mind is cunning. It crafts this perfect illusion. It convinces you that if he chooses you, if he loves you the way you've always yearned to be loved, then finally the pain will cease. Finally, you will feel whole. And that is why you cling to him so fiercely. Not because he is special, but because he represents the impossible cure for a wound you've carried for decades. And do you know what's most cruel? The more you try to use him to heal this wound, the more you push him away. Because he senses the weight of this unconscious expectation. He can't name it. He doesn't understand it rationally. But he feels it. He feels that you need him in a way that isn't about love. It's about emotional survival. And that terrifies him. Because no man wants to be responsible for healing another's wound. No man wants to carry the burden of being someone's emotional savior. It's too heavy. It suffocates. It kills any possibility of genuine connection. So he flees. He retreats into the fantasy, for the woman who doesn't demand his healing, for the projection that doesn't weigh. And you remain there, bleeding from the old wound, believing you've been rejected yet again, when in truth, you were never rejected at all. You merely startled him with a need he cannot fulfill. But what if you ceased attempting to use him as a salve? What if you looked directly at the wound and said, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I will tend to you myself? This is what Jung termed confronting the shadow. The shadow isn't merely the detestable aspects you conceal. The shadow is also the pain you refuse to feel, the solitude you eschew experiencing, the emptiness you resist acknowledging. And when you finally cease evading the shadow, when you sit with it, when you allow it to exist without immediately endeavoring to fill it with a man, with external validation, with any distraction you can conjure, something extraordinary transpires. The wound begins to mend, not because someone else healed it, but because you finally stopped incessantly picking at it, stopped reopening it in a desperate search for salvation in the wrong places. And as the wound heals, you begin to perceive something shocking. You begin to realize you don't need him, that you never did, that everything you believed he could bestow upon you, you already possess within yourself. It was merely obscured behind the wound. But herein lies where the matter becomes truly engrossing, where Jungian psychology verges on the arcane in its elucidation of relational dynamics. The very moment you genuinely no longer require him, The instant you authentically become whole on your own, the energy between you undergoes a complete metamorphosis. Because now, for the first time, you are not radiating need. You are not emanating emptiness. You are not silently beseeching to be filled. You are emanating completeness. And completeness is the most captivating force in existence. A man ensnared by fantasies, one who flees his own shadow, cannot contend with a whole woman. She unnerves him. She compels him to confront his own void. Thus, he continues to flee. But a man poised for awakening, a man on the precipice of his own transformation, upon encountering a woman who is genuinely whole, experiences a profound detonation within himself. He recognizes in her that which he aspires to become. He beholds in her the potential for authenticity. And if this man is him, the man you want, then the moment you become whole, he will awaken. Not because you did something to wake him, but because the presence of an integrated woman is the most powerful mirror there is. She reflects back to him everything he is avoiding in himself. And he has two choices at that moment. Either he looks in the mirror and does the work, or he flees entirely. But either way, you have your answer. You find out if he is capable of growth or if he is destined to remain stuck in fantasies forever. But there's a twist here. A twist that Jung understood better than any other psychologist. The moment you become truly whole, the moment you truly integrate the shadow and heal the wound and stop needing external validation, something surprising happens. You might not want him anymore, because now you see him clearly, without the projections, without the fantasies, without the filter of your need. And when you see him clearly, you might realize he's not who you thought he was. That he still has a lot of work to do. That he's years behind you on the journey of individuation. And you have to decide, do you want to wait for him to catch up? Do you want to be his teacher, his guide on the journey? Or do you want a partner who is already on the same level, someone you can walk alongside instead of constantly having to pull? And that decision is the true test of your integration. Because if you choose to wait, if you choose to stay even knowing he's not ready, you need to be honest with yourself about why. Is it because you genuinely see potential in him and are willing to invest in that potential? Or is it because a part of you is still afraid of moving forward alone? Jung used to say that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But note the keyword, both. Not just one. If only you are being transformed, if only you're doing the work, if only you are waking up while he continues to sleep, then it's not a real meeting. It's just you burning yourself out trying to warm someone who doesn't want to get out of the cold. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a meeting that transforms both. A relationship where both are awake, both are growing, both are doing the brutal work of looking at their own shadow. But here lies the ultimate paradox, the most profound truth Jung sought to impart. You only attract that kind of relationship when you cease your relentless pursuit of it. When you become so engrossed in your own individuation, your personal odyssey toward wholeness, that you simply lack the time or inclination to languish, awaiting external validation. For in this state of profound self-possession, you radiate an authenticity that is utterly inimitable. You emanate purpose, direction, a life replete with richness and meaning, irrespective of who may or may not be a part of it. And this is utterly captivating to another soul traversing a similar path. Yet, it remains imperceptible to one still ensnared in slumber. Someone still tethered to ephemeral fantasies simply cannot perceive you when you exist in this elevated state. You become invisible to them because they are only capable of seeing projections, and you are no longer a blank canvas upon which they can cast their illusions. Therefore, the pivotal question you must now confront is, where do you stand on this journey? Are you still striving for recognition from someone still asleep? Or are you prepared to fully awaken and permit only those who are also awake to truly see you? For this decision, this singular choice, dictates everything that is yet to unfold. And now we arrive at the part most people never reach. The part that separates women who transform their lives from those who continue repeating the same patterns until exhaustion. The part where theory becomes practice, where knowledge becomes real power. Because up until now, I've shown you the map. I've explained the anima, the self, the shadow, the projections, the wounds. You've intellectually grasped why he acts the way he does, why you act the way you do, why the cycle repeats. But understanding isn't enough. Jung spent his entire life emphasizing this. He would say that you can spend decades in therapy talking about your problems, analyzing your patterns, understanding your wounds, and still effect no change whatsoever. Because real transformation doesn't happen on the intellectual level. It happens on the level of being. So how do you move the knowledge from your mind into your body? How do you integrate these truths so profoundly that your behaviors shift automatically, effortlessly, without constant policing? You do something that will seem counterintuitive. Something that goes against every impulse you have right now. You completely stop focusing on him. I'm not talking about strategically distancing yourself so he misses you. I'm not talking about feigning indifference while inside you're consumed by thoughts of him. That's just more manipulation, more performance, more ego trying to control the outcome. I'm talking about genuinely redirecting all the energy you're spending on him back to yourself. All the energy you expend checking if he texted you, if he posted on social media, if he's thinking of you, if he's with her. All this energy that's leaking outward needs to come back. And when you bring this energy back, when you truly contain it within yourself instead of squandering it on someone who isn't fully present, something alchemical happens. Jung studied alchemy obsessively because he understood that the ancient alchemists weren't actually trying to turn lead into gold. They were describing the process of psychic transformation. And the first stage of alchemy is called nigredo, the darkness, the death, the confrontation with everything you've been avoiding. And this is what you need to move through now. When you cease to use him as a distraction, when you stop employing the fantasy of the relationship as an escape, when you are truly alone with yourself, the darkness descends. The emptiness arrives. All the pain you were attempting to suppress surfaces, and the temptation will be immense. The temptation to grab your phone and text him, to manufacture some drama solely for contact, to retreat back into the fantasy because the reality of the void is unbearable. And if you succumb to this temptation, you revert to square one. You forfeit all progress. But if you can endure, if you can sit within the inferno of your own solitude without fleeing, without seeking external salvation, something miraculous transpires. The void begins to transmute. It reveals what was always concealed within it. Power. Not power over others. Not the power to manipulate or control, but personal power. The fortitude to exist entirely on your own and not merely survive, but to flourish. The capacity to generate your own happiness, your own peace, your own sense of meaning without the necessity of extracting it from another. And when you apprehend this power, when you truly feel it for the first time, you viscerally comprehend something that was previously mere theory. You never needed him. The void you believed he would fill was not a genuine void. It was merely space you had never permitted yourself to occupy. But here is the part that must be articulated. Even if it stings, reaching this juncture necessitates traversing hell. It demands nights where you will weep in isolation. It requires days where every cell in your body will cry out for you to return to him, to the fantasy, to the illusory security of the familiar. And there is no shortcut. There is no technique. There is no mantra, affirmation, or ritual that circumvents this ordeal. You must go through it. You must feel it all. You must die to the version of yourself that presumed you required him to be whole. Jung termed this the death of the ego, and it is literal. The part of you that constructed its entire identity around being chosen, being loved, being validated externally, that part must perish. And it will not do so silently. It will resist. It will shriek. It will convince you that you are making a catastrophic error, that you are squandering your sole opportunity for felicity. But on the other side of this death lies the genesis of the true self. The iteration of you that requires no artifice, that needs no performance, that needs to be nothing other than what it is. And this version of you is so potent, so magnetic, so complete, that it transmutes everything. Now, as you undertake this inner work, as you navigate your own inferno, do you know what's happening with him? Nothing. He remains ensnared in the same old patterns, still bifurcated between fantasy and reality, still fleeing his own shadow, still incapable of making a choice, because to choose implies awakening, and awakening means confronting all the pain he has been evading. And here is where you must exercise caution, because amidst your own metamorphosis, you might feel an overwhelming sense of compassion for him. You may clearly perceive his suffering, the prison in which he languishes, and feel an urge to extricate him. You might wish to extend a hand and declare, "Look, I've discovered the path. Allow me to guide you." And should you do this, should you derail your own ascent to attempt his salvation, you forfeit everything, because you cannot undertake his labor for him. You cannot traverse his inferno. Each soul must embark upon its own odyssey, or none at all. And more critically, if you regress to attempt his rescue, you are tacitly admitting that your own transformation remains incomplete. You are still seeking validation through him, still striving to be indispensable, still operating from a place of woundedness, rather than power. A woman who has truly transformed does not endeavor to save anyone. She simply embodies her truth with such profound completeness, such unadulterated authenticity, that she becomes a luminous beacon. And if he is indeed poised for awakening, he will perceive the light and gravitate towards it of his own volition, not because you beckoned him, but because an intrinsic resonance within him recognizes a kindred spirit within you. But what if he never arrives? What if he never awakens? What if he remains perpetually ensnared in his fantasy with the other woman? Then, you possess your definitive answer. And the answer is not a reflection of your inadequacy. The answer is that he was not operating on the same evolutionary frequency as you, that your trajectories were fundamentally incompatible where it truly matters, at the level of consciousness, at the level of the volition to grow. And this liberates you entirely, because you cease to personalize the rejection. You comprehend that it was not rejection. It was merely evolutionary divergence. He resides at one stage of the journey, and you have ascended to another, and attempting to force a nexus between two such disparate planes of awareness can only engender suffering for both parties. Jung articulated a magnificent concept for this phenomenon. He termed it synchronicity, the notion that the right things occur at the right time, not by happenstance, but by alignment. And when you are genuinely aligned with yourself, when you are vibrating at the frequency of your deepest truth, you naturally attract those on the same wavelength, and you repel those who are not. So if he distances himself during your transformation, it's not a failing, it's a confirmation. Confirmation that you are on the correct path. Confirmation that you are becoming so real that those who dwell in fantasy can no longer tolerate your presence. And that can hurt. It can hurt profoundly to witness him choosing illusion over reality, to see him choose her fantasy over your truth. But the pain is clean now. It is no longer the tainted ache of an old wound. It is the simple sorrow of letting go of someone not ready for the level of genuine intimacy you are offering. And you let go, not with bitterness, not with anger, not with the secret hope that releasing him will bring him back. You let go because holding on is impeding your continued growth. Because every ounce of energy you expend on him is energy unavailable for your own evolution. And when you truly let go, when you sever the energetic cords that tethered you to him, you feel something you may have never experienced before. Freedom. Not the superficial freedom of being unattached, but the profound freedom of needing no one to complete you. The freedom to exist fully on your own. The freedom to know that you are whole precisely as you are, and that anyone who enters your life from this point forward will add, but never fill a void, because there is no longer a void to fill. And in this state of freedom, in this state of genuine wholeness, do you know what happens? You stop attracting men like him. You stop attracting men trapped in fantasies, divided in their affections, incapable of choosing, because your frequency has shifted, and the new frequency only resonates with men who are also whole. Men who do not need you to feel complete, but who choose you because life is richer when shared with an equally evolved soul. Men who do not project fantasies because they have already done the work of integrating their own anima. Men who have already looked upon their shadow and embraced it. These men exist, but they are invisible to you while you are still operating from the wound. They simply don't register on your radar because you're tuned into the wrong frequency. You're looking for a project of a man, for potential, for someone you can fix or save or transform. But when you transform first, when you become whole first, these men suddenly appear everywhere, and you realize they've always been there. You just couldn't see them because you were fixated on the men who represented your unhealed wound. So the ultimate question, the only question that truly matters now is, are you ready to do that work? Are you ready to walk through your own hell? Are you ready to die to the version of you that needs him and be reborn as the version that needs no one? Because if you are, everything changes. Not immediately, not magically, but inevitably.